Well, Tim Pool had a very I don't even know if it was interesting. I just saw a chunk of it of interview with some kind of transgender sexual person who the minute it came to substantive questions about like what about anything, it's just dipping and dodging. All of a sudden, people like that are really good with dodging the speed bag, not hitting it, dodging the speed bag, because there's no, to them there is no reason to give a substantive answer, because fundamentally the gender sexuals don't actually respect anybody else. This is a critical thing about the bigotry of leftists and progressives. They really don't think that they actually have to make a substantive point and prove what they're saying, when really that's what it comes down to. Somebody like Tim Pool is being too polite. This idea of, well, now you know what question I'm going to ask. What is a woman? The question that should be asked is, what is a man? That's what you should ask trainees. What is a man? Because they're not a man anymore. So according to them, they're not a man. So what is a man? That's actually a much better question. And then there's the whole idea of, if you are a middle class white guy from what comes across as a college educated background, like your mom or dad both have been in college, you probably grew up not starving for a meal. People like that basically get to tell all women what they are or are not, fundamentally. So it's basically white men that and really all liberals and progressives are agreeing to this idea that it's this special class of white men who define what women are. And I think a lot of black women should really think about the ramifications of that. This isn't black men. This isn't RuPaul. RuPaul never shows up. No, this is always white dudes in dresses saying this. So then beyond that, really, everything about gender, everybody likes to just say gender and sex are not the same thing. And what everyone needs to say, as soon as that's stated, is, well, you have to prove that. That's a gigantic claim that you are definitely wrong about, so you have to prove it. And the reason why is because almost all boys will try to pick something up and shoot somebody with it. Almost all girls will be attracted to things girls like, and dresses. Period. It's very rare that you find a massive deviance. There's not some great number of people who deviate from this. This is to the point of a 0.9 correlation. So just because some girl likes comic books, that doesn't suddenly make her kind of on the Kinsey scale a 1 in the boy category or something. So all these people are talking a bunch of bullshit. And what you have to do is treat them like they're bullshitters and say, I think you might be mentally ill or a liar. You're going to have to come up with a substantive proof for what you're saying. Because everybody else has to. Everybody else has to lay the groundwork, the suppositions and presuppositions for their arguments. But not these special men who are a historically powerful group, and suddenly, because they aren't up to snuff to a lot of other men in their category, and they're like, well, then I could be a inferior superior man. I can be an ultra inferior, and everyone has to treat me like I'm really special, because I'm so beset upon. And then if people get upset about it, upset what you say to them, or say about them. They get to tell a bunch of, basically a bunch of white women and really, honestly, straight up, Jewish writers, powerful Jewish media moguls, and those people all go after you, hammer and tongs. I think a lot of black women are not getting this, how awesome of a hustle this is, and how they're going to be answering to these white dudes in dresses. You're going to be answering to white boys in dresses. That's what's up. These aren't white men. They say they're not. So you could call them and say, white boy, why are you wearing that dress? And you should mock them in that way. But look at this punk ass white boy in a dress. You go, there's multi-genders. Prove it, nigga. Nigga, you need to prove that shit. Because that shit's a bunch of bullshit. Nobody else on the planet thinks that's true. Only the Eurosphere, only the western part of Europe. Do you realize no one on the planet believes this? This is something, there's so much about this that has like this kind of racial connotation going on. It's white men in dresses telling the whole world about, oh yeah, no, this is totally for real. And then when you get into the scholarship on all this and all the intellectuals, well, then you start finding why maybe there's a whole lot of media moguls and writers with names like Blintz, Hamantashen, and Goldstein that defend it all the time, because for some weird reason that particular community is always heavily involved in advocating for weird sexual stuff. And and there's no way around it anymore. And a lot of there's a whole lot of people who are going to have to start figuring out. They're going to start having to separate the English from the Dutch, a lot of people are going to have to start figuring this out. And figuring out, because one of the big ones is black women, if you want to get married to a black man who is going to stay with you and raise the kids with you and stuff, there's no black man who's going to be like, yeah, it's cool, yeah, this white guy in a dress is telling us that our son or our daughter needs to have sex with him, okay, or needs to be instructed on how they're not actually our daughter or son, that if we say anything about it, this motherfucker can snatch him or some shit like that, or can penalize us, or the FBI will investigate me if I say that this motherfucking white boy in a dress, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. People better start understanding. This is, the world doesn't think this. China doesn't think it. Russia doesn't think it. Russia's huge. China's huge. Almost the entire continent of Africa ain't going for this shit. We're actually starting, it looks like, to try to overthrow governments in Africa right now because these people won't yield on boy dick broham titty bitch, It's like we won't yield on titty pussy. And so and so that's what and on bussy man, and it's like bussy thing, so Princess Broham. So a lot of people better start understand it. There's no evidence for this. These are obviously people trying to garner negative attention. Then that's the next one. Almost all things that, and I think this is really something that a lot of people you're older, you're gay, you're older, time's gone on, you're like, I just like what I like. Yeah, that's why a whole lot of you need to start understanding this transgression thing. Yeah. You have too few numbers to be transgressive anymore. Yeah, I think you're starting to see what a world full of transgressive people is going to be like. Now you're seeing women getting run over in major cities by their car after a bunch of pickaninnies carjack them. I think a whole lot of you better start. And remember that video I made? Ain't nobody talking about that woman who her dog and her got killed and somebody found them in a bush. And was it Atlanta? Something like that. And it was like, and where was she? She was running around the bar. She visited the bar to say hi to the family, and she gets killed, and nobody remembers her name. Nobody's gonna remember any of these. Remember, that's the with the lesbians. Nobody remembers them. When bad things happen to lesbians, no one cares. Isn't that our? How are you all not getting this? How are you all not getting how hard you're getting played like punks? That's the thing is that's one thing I could say about like when lesbians are hard ass studs. It's like, okay, so don't be a punk because nobody's on your side except for you and that chick you're with. Ain't nobody on your side. So you better join a side or something because these white boys in dresses aren't on your side. They won't admit that you're a woman and that he's a man. No, you actually, in fact, have to consider dating him because he says he is a lesbian. Punking you out. Stud.